Live here at the offices of Scarce City. I am your host, Christopher Mount, Chief Executive Pleb at Scarce City. What a 12 hours it has been. We have an exciting auction for you today. We have the pleasure of auctioning DIMS, a new kind of kingdom. And this is a beautiful piece. It is a peaceful piece. However, we are not in times of peace right now. We will get into the drama and the thoughts on it here with Dim shortly. Before we do that, I want to give you a quick intro on how lightning auctions work in case you're new here. And we have some new updates. So I've got to keep you informed there. The auction is open for bidding. We do have a first bidder, 500,000 sats from BitPaint already. 24 hours to go on this thing. Come down here if you want to place a bid, input how much you want to bid in sats. We do the sats math for you. We tell you how much collateral you'll have to put in with your bid and put an email address with that bid. It can be any email address as long as you have access to it. It's how we verify the winner. If it is your first time entering an email address with that email address with a bid, you will input a display name. That's what displays here in the bid table. Once you press place bid here, we give you some more important information, and then we direct you to BTC Pay server to pay an invoice of your collateral. Lightning is the default, but you can pay on chain. Please be aware if you are paying on chain that we do require confirmation for those on-chain payments. You will pay fees on that payment, and on-chain payments are disabled within the final 15 minutes. Once the auction is over, the highest bidder has 24 hours to pay their high bid, what's remaining of it, and the remaining bidders get their sats back, their collateral back, once that item is paid for. And if you want to lower your bid deposit and have access to a one-time deposit for unlimited bids, you can register. All you need to do is input your email address, create a password, and verify your email address, and then you can throw in 500,000 sats and bid as much as you want, and you won't have to pay an invoice with each individual bid. It's a great option if you're bidding on chain. You make one on chain deposit, and then you bid as much as you want, and you're only getting burned on fees one time. And with your other bids, you'll also save on some deposits here too. So great option here if you're a serious contender in this thing. We got some hot action here. BitPaint, Mr. Naramoto, and Vizique placing some early bids. There's some excitement around this. I am going to invite on our special guest, Dim. Dim is the creator of Bulltardia and the Bitcoin Voice Project. Dim, how are you doing?
I'm good, Chris. Hi. Thanks for having me in these crazy times.
Thanks for joining us, man. We've been super excited about this auction, and it's kind of a shame that something has distracted us a bit from it. But this is Bitcoin, and we have to expand. We have to expect everything that comes at us. So, I do want to get into the artwork, and I want to get into your background, but we have to start with the topic at hand. And for anybody out there who's been living under a rock or maybe watching this recording after the fact, just about, last night, Elon Musk tweeted that Tesla would no longer be accepting Bitcoin for Tesla payments, citing environmental concerns with fossil fuel burning in order to mine Bitcoin. So a lot to unpack here, Dim. Just tell me what's going on in your mind with this thing.
I mean, come on, Elon. Not so long ago, he was tweeting that he agreed that there was no environmental issue with Bitcoin. He was backing Bitcoin openly, and suddenly he does this turnaround. It's complete backstabbing. There is no real reason behind that. I mean, it's a fuckery. And what's crazy about it, tell me what you think, that in the same day, we have Vitalik going after the Doge shitcoin or all the dog coins, and Elon going after Bitcoin. There is no coincidence. I feel like there is more behind closed door that we are actually seeing. So there is an agenda behind all of this for sure. And then we have also right after that we have JP Morgan that starts talking about Ethereum being better than Bitcoin. There's a lot of FUD, and now we have Binance FUD that just came out. It's FUD season, and that creates the dips as we know it. So we better get onto it, because as we know, this is just a dip, and it's an opportunity to stack more sats.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I agree with you that there's some agenda here. I don't know what that agenda is, but what is clear that the facts as they've been made public, they don't make sense, right? Like, as you noted, just, I don't know, a few weeks ago, Elon commented on Jack Dorsey's and ARK's publication about how the environmental impact of Bitcoin is overblown, or the narrative around it is overblown. And Elon tweeted that he agreed with that, and now he's done a total about face on that stance. So look, man, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to speculate why. There's some theories that obviously Tesla, they benefit a lot from government subsidies, and he's receiving some kind of pressure from that level of probably some public officials that are not well informed on actual impact of Bitcoin on Bitcoin mining on the environment. You could put the tinfoil hat on and take this as far as you want. What do you think's behind it?
I mean, look, all I know, I don't have the answer as well. There could be many reasons. All I know is that Tesla went as far as incorporating Bitcoin. They announced everything. It was part of the plan. So they must have done their homework in order to get to that. They were aware of all of this beforehand. So that suddenly Elon realizes that there might be some kind of issue with the environment. It's not something that he didn't just lift a rock and suddenly discover that yesterday. So all of this is pure manipulation in my mind, and he's done that before with Doge. So is another possibility is just that he just likes to as Dave Portnoy said, play God with the market, because it's a power kick. Maybe he has actually orders for buying more Bitcoin, and he's trying to fill his order. Who knows? All I know is that he's fucking everybody up. He's really playing with all the plebs, and that sucks, man, because a lot of people really saw him as one of the good guys, one of the flag bearers, and that he does this kind of fuckery. It just it destroys his reputation from all the Bitcoin community and beyond. So I think it's going to backlash on him. I hope so, because as we all know, Bitcoin will survive all of this. It's not because one guy, one company, even if it's Elon Musk, decide that is anti-Bitcoin, that it's going to change the course of history.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, what I think is really important to talk about here is, what is Bitcoin mining's real impact on the environment, and what is the right narrative Bitcoiners should support to communicate the real impact. Do you have any initial thoughts there, Dim?
Sure. I mean, there are many people out there that have produced a lot of content talking about the topic, and we probably talk about it much better than I do. But there are certain key points, and one of them is that it's actually promoting the use of renewable energies. because there is mining Bitcoin provides an incentive for people to look for cheaper energies, for better systems than fossil fuels that are actually expensive. So this is an incentive for miners to actually use renewable energies. There are also other energies such as hydraulic that is wasted. A lot of the hydraulic energy cannot be completely used. Electricity is wasted. If there is an overload of electricity, it's thrown away. And the Bitcoin and the miners find actually solution to buy that electricity to use it. So there is, instead of being bad for the environment, it's the opposite. Bitcoin is good for the environment because it promotes the use of renewable energies, and it actually make use of energy that would otherwise be discarded, be destroyed. The other thing that may happen is that you're going to have also from an anthropological standpoint and social standpoint, you're going to have a lot of communities that are going to try to get closer to the sources of energies because they try to reduce their cost. And that means also less transportation, less infrastructure. So all of these have to be taken in account in order to see really what's the real impact. Finally, I really think that producing fiat and managing fiat and moving fiat around the world is very energy costly, and also in human resources. So you cannot really compare the mining of Bitcoin with actually the behemoth that is the fiat system and all the resources that it is using today. You can't even really calculate that, I believe, because it has so many variables and it impacts at so many levels. But if you just think about this, it's clear that the current system consumes much more energy than what we are proposing with Bitcoin.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. And, actually, I have a personal story related to Bitcoin incentivizing renewable projects. Before discovering Bitcoin, a project that I worked on was I was working with a renewable energy company that was trying to start a solar project, a pretty small solar project in the grand scheme of things. And I was helping them raise financing for it. Right? As you can imagine, a solar project, a lot of upfront costs involved. You have to secure the land, you have to buy the solar panels and set it all up. So they were trying to raise financing for that, and I learned a ton about renewable energy through that process. The main thing being that, well, first of all, these projects, like the economics of them are super tight, right? Like you have to be able to secure long-term cash flows to pay off that upfront cost. And the margins are like very thin, and there's a lot of uncertainty around those profit margins. And specific to solar and other renewable projects, the biggest challenge is, there's not always demand to consume the energy when it's being produced, right? So, for example, if it's spring or fall in some kind of medium climate location, people aren't really using that much energy, but the sun may be shining, and that solar plant is capturing that energy. And we don't have the battery technology to be able to harness that energy. So in most solar plants, it's getting lost, right? Mm-hmm. There's no use for it. However, if you hook up a Bitcoin mining operation to that solar plant, during those times when there's not demand for the energy, but the energy is being produced, you can use that energy to mine Bitcoin and generate profit from that mining operation. And that changes the economics of the entire project such that more of these projects can be produced, right? Mm-hmm. The economics make more sense for them to exist. So on the solar project that I was working on, we failed to raise financing for it. If I would have known about the opportunity of Bitcoin mining and been able to convince the team to try it. Who knows? Maybe that would have turned the economics of the project around, and we'd have one more solar project in the world. And that's just one tiny anecdote. I'm sure there are thousands of these situations where these solar or just renewable wind, hydro, you name it, more of these projects would exist if they were mining Bitcoin when there was no demand for that energy.
Mhm.
It's like it's I think for a lot of Bitcoiners who've studied this, it's something that's become so intuitive. But the problem is like this type of nuance does not make for snappy headlines in the mainstream media, right? Like, New York Times, I don't even want to call out a media company, but like no mainstream media outlet, no one wants to print like Bitcoin mining nuance may be net positive for environment. No, that doesn't generate clicks. They want to say Bitcoin bad, Elon hates Bitcoin mining. Uh, and that's what we're up against. So like, what do you think? Like, what can Bitcoiners do to combat this clickbait narrative that Bitcoin mining is bad for the environment? What's our responsibility here?
I mean, it's to continue what Bitcoiners are doing, which is spread the word, evangelize about the really what Bitcoin is. A lot of people don't even know today, as we've seen recently, that a Bitcoin can actually be split. That there are 100 million Sats in a Bitcoin. It is still at that level. We are so early. There's so much to learn and to teach about Bitcoin that we're only scratching the surface. So what we have to do is just keep doing what we're doing, talk about it as much as we can, try to educate all the no coiners. And it's a lot of work. It's, I mean, even in your small entourage that is your family, I'm sure that it's already hard enough to talk about Bitcoin to your parents, to the other generation who are still fed on a daily basis about the old narratives, about the FUD, and about the mainstream media that still try to push the stories of Bitcoin being something negative, something bad for the future. So we made progress. At least, we don't hear as much that it's just used for criminals and laundering money. But every time we conquer a hill, there is another one that shows up. So it's going to be a lengthy battle for sure. But where I am very optimistic is to see that the community is getting stronger by the day, and that it is never giving up. That we are learning from the previous bear markets. We are learning from hodling Bitcoin for so long, and we are getting our message a little better. We are fine tuning what we are saying as we are learning ourselves. I still personally have so much to learn about Bitcoin, let alone Lightning Network and all the new technology, the layer twos, etc. But I mean, we don't expect everyone to know everything from day one, but we do expect people to little by little get into the rabbit hole. And that's the goal, is one person at a time, one information at a time. Make your move.
Yeah, yeah, well
and
put. And
and I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
do you feel like you have in your own environment the same problems about teaching what Bitcoin is, even for people that are close to you?
Well, like it's definitely days like today where I receive the messages from people who know that I'm into Bitcoin and they start asking. And to your point, it's our responsibility to explain the facts to them, and to refine our message so that it's easy to comprehend for all. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a responsibility of all Bitcoiners. And look, we're up against some giants here, right? And we're just a bunch of plebs. So it's a hell of a battle. It's not going to be easy, but one by one, it's just a matter of time that more and more people wake up to the fact that they can't trust, the media sources that they've been following. They can't trust the narratives that are being fed to them, and it's up to them to do their own critical, independent thinking and find the facts. And as more people uncover that they've been lied to in a lot of cases, I think the natural inclination there is to find the sources of truth, and there's no source of truth like Bitcoin. So I'm as optimistic as ever that more and more people will complete their journey in discovering Bitcoin. But to your point, we got a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. Never ends.
Never ends. All right, Tim. Well, let's back up, man. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about how you got into Bitcoin. Before Bitcoin, tell us a little bit about, your background. How do you feel like you were predisposed to discover Bitcoin?
It's funny. Something like the first event that gets you to Bitcoin, it's something every Bitcoiner wishes to remember, right? Unfortunately for me, I completely forgot how, who, or why I got into Bitcoin. I know that back then it was at the time of just a little before Mt. Gox. And thankfully, I didn't buy in right away, so I didn't buy the top. But back then it was somewhat in the news, and I was involved in tech. I've been in the web industry before. In between being an artist, I was also an online artist, doing a lot of being in the World Wide Web when it was the Wild West. And
Right.
everything was to be discovered, and it was fun. So that was an area I was exploring. And my being in New York, there was a strong tech community, so it was easy to get exposed to things like Bitcoin. But I didn't get in right away. But after Mt. Gox, where people started thinking that it was over, it turns out that some of my friends still had all these Bitcoins, and they were interested in buying a piece from me. I was making those light sculptures with LEDs and wood, and it was an Arduino back in the day where Raspberry Pi was not yet the thing, but there was like a Arduino. And a friend of mine said, "Look, I love your piece. I would love to buy it, but would you accept Bitcoin?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" And so the first one of the first pieces I sold was actually a Bitcoin transaction. And of course, it wasn't much back then, but now I'm very happy I made that transaction. And that was the introduction. And what it happened with that transaction, it made me realize that there was something very liberating about using Bitcoin, by receiving getting paid in something that was out of the system.
Mm.
Right away, I felt like, oh my God, maybe there is something here. And I started getting more into it. I started being more of an investor rather than a trader, of course, and didn't get really in the community itself until later. But I wanted to promote Bitcoin and I wanted to use it. So I tried to sell more art using Bitcoin without really advertising. It was more like in my entourage.
Mm.
However, it felt like there was a disconnect because the art I was making was not necessarily about Bitcoin. And I really wanted to find an avenue that would connect the two, that would make kind of a seamless entity between the transaction itself, the reason why we're using Bitcoin, and the artwork. And for a while, I was not sure about what to do or how to do it. And so I gave up on the idea, and time passed. And then 2000, fast forward to 2017, I started discovering shitcoins and the wonderful world of trading. And I made a lot of stupid moves, like many of us did. And but in a way, that was a very good school, and that made me discover actually one way to get into merge the art and Bitcoin. And it was actually through. Are you familiar with a website called TradingView?
Yes.
In a nutshell, for whoever is listening and doesn't know what it is a trading website that gives you charts and tools to analyze the market and make charts, and it's very powerful, and a lot of people are using it. And I saw those charts, and some of those charts with the right color combination and the right indicators, they can be very beautiful. There is something artistic about it. So I wanted to incorporate some art into the charts, but it's not that easy. TradingView is not really designed for making art. But eventually I thought, hey, why don't I tell a story on the chart? Why don't I make a story of a honey badger that would move throughout the chart and follow the stories of Bitcoin? And that's how I started doing two charts on TradingView that were called the one coin to rule them all. And that became one of the most popular charts on TradingView for crypto. And it was the story of this honey badger called Beat, and that went through the highs and lows. And every time there was a story in Bitcoin, there was a good opportunity to make a new story in the fable. So that's basically the premises of Bulltardia. That's how it started.
Wow. That's amazing. I had not heard that story, and I don't think I've seen this chart.
Yeah, I mean, you can find them. They are not fantastically looking because it's not the thing I'm the most proud of. And on top of it, I mean, you can look at them. It's on if you look for them on TradingView, I'm sure you'll find them. And the thing about TradingView is that it doesn't let you edit your post. So it's full of typos, of grammatical errors. It's a terrible story, but anyway, people loved it. But at the same time, I was kind of frustrated because I really wanted to do more about this, and that's why I turned eventually out of the TradingView platform and made my own comic.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story. I definitely want to get into Bulltardia, but let's unpack some of that. I love hearing the origin story of artists that get into Bitcoin because someone out of the blue offers to pay them in Bitcoin for their artwork. I can't think of how many times I've heard that story, but it's been more than, I mean, this is more than the third time. And I just, you love to hear stories of like artists, benefiting somehow, like economically, in the form of getting into Bitcoin early by selling their art for Bitcoin. It just always makes for such a great story. And then that actually led you into thinking about how you could incorporate Bitcoin into your art. It's just such like a natural path into the movement of Bitcoin art. And I also think it's important to highlight your anecdote on trading shit coins in 2017 because look, I mean, I've traded a shit coin or two, especially around 2017, and most people got burnt. I think for the most part, I got burnt, and it's easy to forget that in times like this when all the shit coins are going wild. Many people have not learned their lesson yet. And look, a lot of people will make money, but the reality of it is most people will not. So it's important to tell these stories as much as we can because the more we can convince some who haven't learned the lesson the hard way to learn the lesson the easy way, the better service we can do. Mm-hmm. But what's so interesting is that it's hard to find examples where that path doesn't just lead to Bitcoin, right? It's kind of just the journey that people got to take to find Bitcoin and really understand the value of Bitcoin and just staying humble and stacking sats.
And and for artists, it's kind of a challenge because Bitcoin, we're talking about tech and finance. These are not the places where you can easily find inspiration when you are talking about art. But look at how rich this community is. Look how much inspiration they get. And I think the reason why is that Bitcoin is, in fact, it may be a technology piece. It may be something that relates to something as dry as the world of finance and economy. But it's more importantly, it's about freedom. It's about liberation. It's about self-sovereignty. And everyone that I know feels an emotional connection to that side of Bitcoin. And that's where, at least for me, and I believe for many other artists, that's where there is a well of inspiration. That's where the fire is burning, and that's where you as an artist being a vessel. You drive that inspiration and you turn it into a piece of art. And it's endless. You can, when you start opening in that Pandora's box, you have so many things that are happening, and so I really hope for many of us that it's only the beginning of the journey, and that the art will evolve over time. The storyline will change. The narrative will become better, more elaborate, and maybe, just maybe, it will actually teach also people, the same way as we were talking about earlier, new things about Bitcoin.
Yeah, such an interesting topic. As much time as I've spent thinking about it, I don't think I've fully come to understand it. But there is something really special about Bitcoin that not only attracts people into believing in it and wanting to contribute to it, but turns many people into artists, or gets existing artists to focus on Bitcoin art. But it just gets the creative juices going. People just want to contribute in any way they can. And if you're not, super tech savvy, or you don't want to start a podcast, a lot of people turn to art, and it's such a beautiful thing. Um, so let's talk about Bulltardia, because I feel like that's where I came to discover your work. And I feel like that a lot of people have discovered you through that. So tell us about Bulltardia.
Sure. I mean, so Bulltardia, now you know the origin story of Bulltardia. So in 2018, I started doing this story, and then at first it was just a few tweets and that follow up on the charts of TradingView. But eventually, after spending a lot of time trying to think about the story, I approached, I heard about Citadel 21 that Odlonaut started, which is a fantastic Bitcoin zine. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I know a lot of people are. And they were looking for artists and writers. They're looking for all kinds of plebs to actually share their adventure. And so I approached Odlonaut and I asked him if he would be interested in running my story. And he loved it. He loved the idea. So he said, why not? So I started doing this contribution, starting the third volume of Citadel 21 on a monthly basis before, and now bi-monthly. And I published those episodes. And he loved it so much that he asked me, hey, look, why don't you do the cover for Citadel 21?
Mm.
And I also did the cover, which I'm very proud of. And that's how it started. And the story of Bulltardia really is, of course, it's about the honey badger. That is the honey badger of the money. That is the power of animal of Bitcoin. But it's more than that. It's about really the story of everyone trying to get into their Bitcoin journey. And it goes back to of course, getting out of the system. They have these eagles, birds that are actually trying to keep control over the land of Bulltardia. They have their whole religion. They have their own gods, and they try to put everyone on check because they know they have the power. And of course, some of those people, they are not very happy. They have to pay their respect to Mother, which is the goddess of the bird. And actually, Mother is the mother death, and it's so there's a lot of correlation between the real world and the fable. And so they're not happy about this, and they're trying to really, they're realizing that little by little this is not the way things should work, and they're trying to find help. So they go and come and ask for help from this honey badger because they heard it's a fearless creature. He doesn't care. He's ready to fight, and he doesn't take no for an answer. They come to him, but because he doesn't care, he doesn't want to have anything to do about it. And so we think that's the end of it. But his father, the father of Bit, the honey badger, is a guy named Satoshi, old Satoshi. And he knows that his son is kind of a brat. So he wants to teach him a lesson or two. And for his birthday, he gives him a very precious thing he has, which is a moonstone. And he tells his son, you are going to bring that moonstone back to the moon. So he sends his son on a journey to bring the stone. It's kind of an impossible journey. How can he go into the moon? He doesn't tell him how. And he throws him out. And that's the whole Bulltardia is the whole story about Bit trying to get to the moon. And every episode has a correlation with something that happens in crypto or in Bitcoin. So you have Litecoin, that is Chicken, who is supposed to be his best friend, but he really doesn't want. He's kind of annoying. He talks a lot. He really Bit doesn't really want to have anything to do with him, but he tries to always be part of the story. There is a bunch of there is the Doge. There's Elon actually and the Doge that are pictured in that story before Elon's time. So that was kind of precursory. I encourage everyone to go check it out. It's it's of course on Citadel 21 and on the Bulltardia.com website where you can see every episode for free.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to check it out. I mean, I love the path of getting into Bitcoin through fictional story, and your story. I don't know anyone who does it better. The illustrations that you did for this thing. I mean, obviously the style comes through your artwork here. They're just so beautifully done, and you tell the story in a way that's just it's so easy to follow, and such a fun read. And I think any Bitcoiner, no matter what stage you are, and if you're just discovering Bitcoin or if you've been in for a while, can appreciate all of the journeys that Bit goes through. So what's the status of Bulltardia right now?
Well, so the new episode is coming on the next volume of Citadel 21 on the 21st. It's going to be a short episode because I had some technical issues, and I was actually finishing the piece for Scarce City. So that put a little bit of a halt. But it's coming back on the 21st, and we are finishing the season. So there's going to be maybe a couple more episodes. After that, I'm going to take a break and think about the second season. The thing that I've learned is that doing it on a monthly basis takes a lot of time and energy. It's hard to keep up the pace because, doing it alone, it was the first time I was doing a comic at that pace. And doing it alone, it's pretty hard. You have to wear many caps. You have to do the drawings. I do the story. I do the publishing. I have to also make the physical copies. So all of this takes a lot of time. I have other projects as well. So for the next season, what I want to do is think about the entire season first. And try to publish maybe the entire season, or at least think about the whole storyline entirely and how it breaks down, and then publish it. This will be I think, a better approach.
Awesome, man. Yeah, look forward to seeing that. And look, you can't rush these things, right? Like, it's about the quality, and uh, there's nothing wrong with having the story, go longer between episodes. Keeps people wanting more, right?
Low time
Uh,
preference, man.
that's right. That's low time preference. All right, great. So we'll look forward to more from Bulltardia. Well, let's talk about a new kind of kingdom. I think we see your Bulltardia influences here. What inspired you to create this?
Well, so I definitely wanted to. The idea was originally to do a piece around the sovereign individual, but I don't like to get stuck into one idea. I don't want to force things. Otherwise, you end up having contrived work. So I prefer to let the creativity loose. And the idea evolved over time. And what was one of the inspirations that I found in a garage sale, this incredible collection of vintage National Geographic magazines from the
Hmm.
30s to the 50s. And going through them, they were full of gems. It was a gold mine of inspiration and content that you cannot find anymore online. Anywhere you go, you won't find those pictures, you won't find the stories. So I went through those, and I kind of popped up there was these stories of ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, and I wanted to see how it relates with the history of money. And so I started drawing these miniature stories on pages from the National Geographic magazines, painting with postcards, and they were individual stories, standalones. But little by little, I tried to see how I could incorporate it into a bigger story. So that's why you see in the painting, actually, there are, and you can see it right now in the video, you have here and there collages of
Hmm.
vintage geographic magazines. And those collages, they were actually standalone drawings that I had done that I incorporated on the canvas. And little by little, those stories became the bigger story of the liberation, the passage from the old kingdom
Hmm.
to the new kingdom, and it's the passage of the new money. So if you see actually in the picture, in the triptych, there are each form of money that is represented somewhere. It's very easy to see there are the coins, there are the banknotes, of course. So you see the coins, the banknotes. There are the bulls at the bottom. You see patterns of bull heads. And actually, historically speaking, you have in ancient Greece, the bull or the ox was the means of exchange. It was the unit of value. And there was this ritual called Bouphonia, where the Greek, even though they were not, generally speaking, sacrificing the bulls, it was sacred. Every now and then, to please the gods and to bring good fortune and protection on the community, they were sacrificing a bull and sharing its flesh to the community. But
Hmm.
eventually, the bull being a means of exchange, it's not very practical. So they needed a more practical way of doing it. So they started creating coins
Hmm.
with the precious metals. And the precious metals back then, it was not seen as anything more than just ornamental. They had no real value. But because they turned it into those coins, it was actually practical. And the first coins actually were copper coins, and they were in a shape of a hide. They were not round because they
Oh,
were
interesting.
representing the bulls. And then the first coins also eventually became round, and they still had the face of the bull, but they started having this life on their own. And that's where the history of coins started. So the coins turn after that into fiat. And then on the right panel, you also see in the head of the bear, on his snout, you have zeros and ones. So that also represents the digital money, the shit coins. And finally, last but not least, in the honey badger's eyes, you have the true bacon, you have Bitcoin.
Right.
So all forms of money are represented in that triptych.
It's so well done, man. It's like it's just so fun to look at, and you know the big picture. And this thing's huge. We should mention. What's the dimensions of this?
So yeah, it is 48 inch by 108.
Yeah.
And it didn't start, it started only as the central piece, but as I progressed making that artwork, I needed more to tell more. There was something else to talk about. So I added one panel, and then I was trying to keep the golden ratio. So if you look at
Mm.
it, actually the central panel in one panel follows the exact golden ratio, or the Fibonacci numbers for all the traders out there.
Yeah.
And everything is based on that. So you can take two panels and keep the Fibonacci ratio
Oh wow.
on one place or the other. It's not exactly, all the details are not exactly placed on actually the golden ratio itself when you break it down, but more or less you have that. And then in an earlier instance of the painting, which unfortunately I removed it because I thought it was a little too much. I was not happy about it. But you had points and other figures. So you had Super Saiyan on the left, the Sengoku Super Saiyan Dragon Ball guy
Yeah.
that was below the Pepe King, and his hair was actually marking points to the chart of Bitcoin, all the way up to the head of the beast. So all of these were following actually you could superimpose the chart of Bitcoin and have all the key points, all the highs, the peaks, etc. But this is not there anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I mean, this thing has just massive presence, but I feel like it's so interesting. You pointed out the golden ratio because it's looking at it. It does feel you feel the symmetry, right? But I didn't notice the golden ratios until you pointed out. So very beautifully done there. But this thing, you really have to look at the details to fully appreciate it because there's so much here. Like when you zoom in on any section of this thing, you notice something different, right?
Mm-hmm.
The attention to detail that you put into this is just incredible.
Thanks, man. And the other thing that you can notice also is in terms of color, there is kind of a heat map. So the the right piece, the right panel, and part of the central panel, it's the old kingdom, that the beast of the old kingdom that's trying to protect his kingdom. And if you actually saturate all the colors and you kind of change the hue, you will see that this whole area and the fire is actually a color scheme. It's the reds. And the other side are only following the cold color. So you have this major contrast between the two that actually showcase the two worlds separately.
Mm.
So there is also the only place where you have actually warm colors, the other color chart in the plebs is actually in the hand of Pepe King, because he's holding the mask of Guy Fawkes,
Yeah.
which is Satoshi, and it's supposed to represent the privacy, the anonymity. So his hand is blurred and concealed. So it's not his hand anymore, it's somebody else's hand. And that's why it protects its anonymity.
Oh wow, look at that. So cool, man. And so many Easter eggs to uncover here. You know what I keep thinking about with this is, I love to just live vicariously through all of these artworks and, imagine I had enough sats to purchase them and imagine I had more wall space to display them. But I keep thinking, I have a young daughter, just under 5 months old, and I would just love to have this if she had her own bedroom. She doesn't. If she had her own bedroom, to have this on her wall and just be able to take her through it, image by image, and explore all of the different stories. I think it's such a great way to learn about Bitcoin. And I think it would just look fantastic in a children's room. But of
Oh
course,
yeah.
it would look fantastic anywhere.
Hey, having Pepe King watch over her, guardian
Exactly.
angel.
Pepe, the guardian angel. I love that. All
Yeah,
right.
and so Pepe itself, I mean, it was, I wasn't sure about Pepe originally, but man, it's amazing the story of Pepe. It's amazing the story of Pepe. And it's such a blank canvas. It was the perfect figure to represent the community because he can be anyone. He can be any pleb can actually relate to Pepe. Actually, I thought, I said that earlier in the tweet, but I think he should have been not a frog, but a chameleon.
Because you can take any shape.
He can take any shape. He represents. I mean, look at it. From the history of Pepe, he went from being just a cartoon character to being an emblem of extremism, to actually being the emblem of the Hong Kong protests, to being the internet meme, the grandioso of crypto Twitter. So he can take any shape, man, and that's what's fantastic about this character.
I love Pepe too, man. The documentary Feels Good, Man. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't, but I
You got
have
to
to
see it.
now.
Yeah, you got to see it. It tells the whole story, And this started. Pepe was it's from like the MySpace days, and to this day, just browsing around Twitter, I see Pepe at least once a day on Twitter, just in somebody like some random comment. Somebody's using a Pepe meme. It may be like the original longest lasting, most original meme that's made it to this day. In a big way. And it's just like you said, it's taken on so many different shapes. Pepe is whoever you want Pepe to be.
Exactly. And I believe that's why he has such a success. And look at even Wojak, who is less known, at least his name is less known. And here, I made kind of a stylized version of Wojak. He's a little bit more, he has more details than the original, so you might not recognize him. But the beauty of these two is that they are so easy to associate to anything. Wojak, you can put any emotion, any human emotion, he will translate it so well, especially the one that are more cry and pain and everything. That's what he's very good at. But that's their strength. The strength is that they are easily adaptable.
Yeah, Wojak and Pepe, the perfect side duo. All right, Deb. Well, fantastic work here. Let's talk a little bit about you decided to donate. You decided to make a couple donations here. So let's first talk about the water project. Why did you decide to donate to the water project?
So, one of the other things I'm really interested in is permaculture. And I try to here in my modest garden, I tried as best as I can with my noob approach to apply some of the permaculture principles. But I think one of it that I really find important is to be able to manage to do what you can with your environment, to try to optimize what you have around and try to really maximize the use of the available resources. And the idea of creating, for instance, catching rain whenever you can to create drinkable water is a principle I really think is a smart move, and it's also something that should be promoted. Not only that, of course, but no matter what, we are very we are in our own bubble here in the West. We are talking every day about bitcoins. We are dealing with people who buy Doge coins and dog coins and other shit coins just because they're cute, and they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on it. So we are kind of, in our own realm, and we sometimes forget that if we really want to have a hyper Bitcoinized world and try to fix some of the problems that the world of fiat is creating, and try to level up a little bit of the inequalities, we can't just think about this and not start thinking about people that can't even have fucking drinking water accessible. And I mean, anyway, if there is no water, if there is no air, there is no Bitcoin, because we cannot survive. So I think the basic principle is to give everyone water and air. And some of those kids, some of those projects are school with kids that have to walk miles after miles carrying their own water because they don't have water in their schools. I mean, come on. And so I thought that I should do something. And I found the water project, and the reason why I chose this particular water project over others is that this one was actually open to accepting Bitcoin donation, so it was already aware of it, and so that's why there are many other water projects, but this one was actually the one I picked. And I think they're helping mostly Kenya and Sierra Leone. So there are multiple projects I'm ready to help. I will make a choice based on the result of this auction, because I can either fund a completely new project or actually try to complete one where maybe a little bit is missing, and that actually bridge the gap. So it will depend on really the result of the auction.
Awesome, man. Love to hear that. Super generous of you to make this move. And, right on for water project. First of all, accept Bitcoin for donations, but to give donors that type of flexibility to choose the projects that they want to donate to. And, one thing that Bitcoin does make possible, I don't know if the water project takes advantage of this, is, it'd be possible for you to actually see your sats, your donation, be allocated to specific projects, right? Based on the transparency of Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah, you can actually, if you look at Take Action or Work, you have a list of all the projects, and you can really make a specific donation to a specific project. So, and they go through in details to what they are doing each time. So some of those projects, they're doing rainwater collection. Other ones, it's to dig a well. They have various kinds of projects, but they're all related to bringing drinkable water to communities that are in need. And most of those projects, they range from helping 300 to 400 people, sometimes less, sometimes more. I mean, from what I saw, of course, maybe somebody that works there can tell us more about it. But I think they're all very viable projects. And the other thing is that the water project itself is the nonprofit is quite transparent. They publish their statements about everything, so it's easy to see where the money goes, which is not always the case.
No, for sure not. Amazing to see that. Very cool, man. And on top of that donation, in the heat of the moment last night during the battle cries, you announced another donation. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So, full disclosure, it was the heat of the moment. I had a couple of drinks, so that was the perfect setting to end, and we had the treacherous move from Elon, and honestly, man, I couldn't stand that. So I said that one of the person that will give the best reply, whether it's just a comment, a reason why, an explanation, or a simple rant about the actions of Elon Musk, deserves credits. So I will give another 10% to that. I would really hope that the winner, whoever it is, will decide to actually give those extra 10% also to the water project. That would be a fantastic move, but that will be up to them. And I think we can do it as a group to decide who has the best reply to Elon. So let's run it through until the end of the auction, and then we can make a poll, maybe.
I love that, man. You gotta. There's a lot to get through here. There's no shortage of commentary, and it's not stopping. So we'll have
Yes,
our work cut
submissions
out for us
welcome.
here. Yeah. All right. Awesome, man.
Did
Well,
you have any? I mean, did you see the rants about Stool Presidente, Dave Portnoy?
no, I missed that one.
You know what's funny about Bitcoin community is that every time it gets attacked, you have even the traditional Bitcoin enemies, or what the Maxis sometimes are like to be toxic about. They actually come and defend Bitcoin themselves because there is another enemy on the other side of the line. It's like, the super villains teaming up with the superheroes to actually fight another supervillain. And so you had one of the funniest thing I've seen is that Peter Schiff has sent to Elon Musk the emoji of the eggplant.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah,
That
that's easy
was
to find.
that was beautiful, man. Only on those times. So there is some good in the bad.
Explain this one to us. I'm pulling it up.
Well, I do you remember exactly when it started? Was it who sent Peter Schiff the eggplant, the original eggplant?
I don't know. I know I've seen it make the rounds, but I can't remember the origin of it.
So I can't remember who sent it, but that was kind of a reply to Peter Schiff saying and he said, "Well, are you saying I'm a dick?" Which was pretty much what it was. And so that became a meme on its own. And the meme master, RDBTC, Yellow, and others, I think they created a bunch of memes around that story and that stuck, man. That's still here today. And so Peter Schiff was pretty bitter about it originally. Now he's using it. So that's perfect. That's only on Twitter,
Only on Bitcoin Twitter.
only on Bitcoin Twitter.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, let's check in on the auction here because we've had a bunch of bids roll in. So we're sitting at 5 million sats.
Whoa, BitPaint.
BitPaint. I've seen BitPaint's name pop up a few times. He's gunning for this thing. A good handful of bids here. Nice little battle here between BitPaint, Chief Monkey, Mr. Naramoto. Mr. Naramoto and BitPaint have been going back and forth, and some other Bitcoin art legends in the mix, and some other names here that I'm just seeing for the first time. We've got a wolf. We've got our first dog meme.
Nah.
I guess to be expected. Sign of the times.
Yeah. Shout out to BitPaint, by the way, on one of the things I really wanted to get into is the VR. Unfortunately for me, I have no real knowledge about it, and being on a Mac, it's harder for Apple guys to get into the VR world. But BitPaint has done an amazing job in creating VR worlds, and the day I finally get to it, I would love to bring more contribution to BitPaint's VRs.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that too. Shout out to BitPaint. BitPaint always supporting fine Bitcoin art and always doing great things for the community, including his VR World virtual gallery. I love the prospect of this stuff. I would love to dig more into it. I think there's a huge future with it. Maybe one day we'll see Scarce City virtual art gallery.
Yeah, it's coming.
It's got to come one day. One day it's got to be here.
As long as we don't see a scarcity coin, we should be all right.
Yeah, no scarcity shitcoin.
All right. You don't have secret projects?
Well, we might. Look, we might. But if we ever did how about this? If we ever do a shitcoin, we'll just call it the scarcity shitcoin.
There you go. Please be honest about it.
All right. So, Dib, you have a lot of other projects going on besides Bulltardia, besides your artwork here. Tell us about the Bitcoin voice paper.
Oh yeah. Well, the voice paper project is part of a. So there is the physical artworks. There is Bulltardia, which is the comic, but I also started working on a series of performance pieces. One and under the umbrella of House of Was, House of We Are All Satoshi, and it's a series of different projects. One of them is I'm actually memorizing the entire white paper, and I am I'm going to do a live representation where I actually showed it out to nature. I've been talking about this for quite some time, and I'm still haven't learned it fully. I've been slacking about this. There's still a couple of paragraphs to learn. But I will do it. I was hoping to get ready for Miami conference, maybe. The second part is actually the voice paper, which was a project where 160 different Bitcoiners came together to recite, to narrate on video. Everybody got a little piece to read. And it was really an exciting project because the goal of that project was to really showcase the community, to show that we are from every kind of background. Are you still hearing me? I lost you, I think.
Yeah, your audio got pretty weird there. You got an echo.
Hold on 1 second. What's going on here?
While you play with that demo, I'm gonna go ahead and play a trailer for the voice paper.
Okay.
We are all Satoshi.
We are all Satoshi.
We are all Satoshi.
We are all Satoshi.
Todos somos Satoshi.
We are all 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 Satoshi. We are all Satoshi.
Dan, are you still there?
Yeah. Is that any better?
Well, you don't sound as clear and crisp as you did before, but I can hear you just fine.
All right. Yeah. No, so the voice paper, what was amazing about it is to see how organic it started and it took off. Basically, the way it started is that I just posted something on a Telegram channel and got some interest from people. We started talking to other people. And next thing I knew, there was 160 Bitcoiners signing up, and we got really a good spectrum of the community. We got the OGs, we got the real plebs, we got kids, we got all the people, we got artists, miners, traders, we got the exchange guys. I mean, it was really representative of the community, and I was very happy about it. And it just happened, in a few days. So this was really a project I was proud of.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I love seeing this together. And actually, I was honored to partake in it. You invited me to say a passage, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to recite. I have trouble maintaining my composure in situations like that. But thanks to my wife being patient with the filming, I was finally able to get it done. But well done, man, getting it all together. It's a hell of a project, coordinating 159 Bitcoiners to all recite a phrase and then putting it in together into such a well-produced video. And look, it's, the ultimate purpose of it, right, was to make the white paper permanent, right, in a new form. in the voice form in a way that anyone can download and maintain on their own hard drives.
Yeah, you did a great job, man. If you knew some of those submissions.
I put a lot of effort into it. I did not wing it. Let's just say that.
But you're right. There was actually also it was done at the time where Craig Wright, I shouldn't say his name because he doesn't deserve it, but there it is, was attacking the community again, trying to say he's going to sue everybody. And I think actually he just did. He sent. He served a bunch of developers recently. I think it was actually yesterday, no? Where the news came. He served a bunch of developers, including BSV developers. I mean, seriously, you suing your own developers, and people like Peter Todd were included in the lists. Whereas he had a perfect reply for that. He said that he didn't even actually do any contribution recently. His last contribution was 2017, where he actually just had one comment. So he said to everybody, well, it is clearly just an attempt to scam people, to defraud investors from the money, asking them money to actually fund the lawsuit, saying that he's going to get the money back. That's his theory. And I think that's a very viable theory. I mean, anyway, Craig is acting like a patent troll. That's exactly what it is. He has no power. All he hopes is to scare people off into settling in these lawsuits. But he has no ground. We all know it. So I hope nobody's going to get hurt by his actions. I know some people already did. And it's costly for everybody who gets sued, at least in lawyers' fees. So it sucks, but he cannot win this one, and he won't.
Yeah.
And so to go back to the voice paper, that was in that context. And so everybody was also very happy to say, fuck you, Craig.
Of course. Yeah, and thanks to you and thanks to everybody who contributed that, Craig Wright, I'm sure he'll continue his antics as long as he can, but he can't fuck with the white paper.
Nope, that's for sure.
Awesome, Dim. Well, let's wrap this up here soon. You've been very generous with your time. Any other projects that you have going on that you want to talk about?
The Miami conference is around the corner. I hope to see everybody there, and I will show more of my work. And so the last piece is that it's a touchy subject for Bitcoiners, but even though NFTs are controversial, NFTs aside, the digital work is a realm that I'm really interested in. We talked about VR briefly, but there are many other avenues. I think for artists, it opens a lot of doors for creativity, for making things that you were not able to do before. So I'm looking forward doing more animated work, doing more digital works, and I will showcase those soon. And there is a series that is in the works right now.
Awesome, man. Can't wait to see that. You always have something new on the horizon. It sounds like you got a couple things now for us between this new project and Bulltardia. So looking forward to all updates on those. And thanks so much, Dim, for your time here. We really appreciate it. Best of luck with the auction here. Before I let you go, where should people keep up to date with you?
So they can go to my website, dimzion.com, go check out Bulltardia on bulltardia.com. And of course, I am on Twitter at cryptgm. It was, not the most interesting name to pick up, but that was the one I had. And so find me there. That's where I'm most of the time on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. And of course, last but not least, go check out Citadel 21. Go read the previous volumes, and the next volume is coming on the 21st.
Awesome, Dim. Well, that's a great place to leave it off. Thank you again. This has been such a pleasure. We look forward to the next 23 hours of this auction, and we'll talk to you soon here.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Tim. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. If you're still with us, we'll check in on the auction one more time. BitPaint still on top with 5 million sats. If you're just joining us late here and you are curious as to how the auction works, if you want to place a bid, you come down here, you input how many sats you want to bid. We do the math for you to USD. We tell you how much of a deposit you need to put down with your bid. Everybody gets their deposits back at the end, except in the case of the winner not paying their full bid amount. You'll input an email address and a display name with your bid, and then you'll pay your invoice, preferably over Lightning to do it instantly and cheaply, but you can also pay on chain. Just keep in mind if you are paying on chain that we require a confirmation for those bids, and on chain deposits are disabled within the final 15 minutes. We got a long way to go here, but keep in mind for the final 15 minutes, which we call the hot zone, any bids reset the countdown to 15 minutes. This is to keep people from sniping in at the last second and placing a winning bid. The auction cannot end with a pending bid. So if somebody presses the place bid button, they have a couple minutes to actually pay their invoice. So even if the countdown's at 0, if an invoice is open, the auction will remain open until that invoice is either paid or not paid. And as I said, on-chain bid deposits are no longer accepted during that time period. If you want to make a serious bid on a new kind of kingdom, I suggest you register your email address. That'll give you access to lower bid deposits. And you'll have the option to put up 500,000 sats and just bid however much you want, how many times you want. You don't have to pay an invoice with each individual deposit. It's a real seamless experience and a cool new feature for you. All right. If you're in this thing and you have any questions, let me know. I'm easy to find. Scarce.city on Twitter. Chris at scarce.city. Hit me up. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in.